welcome to episode 12 of Connecting Clarkston. We are happy to have Amy Tower Laboissonniere here with us. She is currently the Community Relations Coordinator for Independence Township, but that has not been your only title with the township. I'm sure we'll get into that. You've been there quite a while. But welcome. Thanks for coming down
I'm
to
super excited to be here.
Well, good. We like to start with, I guess, explaining your connection to Clarkston and how long you and your family have lived here. I know it's been a minute.
Yeah.
And you have some history here, so I'm excited to get into that.
Okay, me too. Thank you for having me. I've been very excited ever since I knew that Larry nominated me to be here. I was like, oh, it's coming.
Yeah, it's like the Ice Bucket Challenge. That's
Yes,
later. We'll
get there. We'll get there. So I, born and raised, I grew up downtown Clarkston on Main Street. Very awesome childhood. I'm the youngest of 6. Most people can look at me and tell that I'm a tower. So if you didn't know, I'm a tower. I'm the youngest of all 6 of us. They are a lot older than me by 10, 20 years. So there's 6 of us all together, and a lot of teachers were always like, another one? What the heck? Because seemingly endless string, but I'm the last. The very last one.
What's the split boy-girl?
There's 5 girls and 1 boy. So my brother is number 5. He's older than me by 9 years.
Wow.
But he's closest to me. He's my closest sibling.
He's 9 years older?
Yep.
Wow.
9 and a half, almost 10.
Did you all go through Clarkston schools?
Yep.
And what elementary was that? Clarkston L, I'm assuming?
Clarkston Elementary. Our junior high was where the Renaissance building is, and then our high school, my sister graduated in 72, which is the year I was born. Okay. So that was that high school then.
So this is off topic, but 73, did you have a sibling that graduated in 73 by chance? Just curious.
Nope, it would have been probably 74. The next one.
Okay, so the one that graduated in 72, we were just talking about how the first graduating class from Clarkston High School to have their ceremony at Pine Knob, I think was 73?
Yep.
It was. So the one that in 72 didn't get it, and then the one in 74 got to, okay.
Yeah.
We were trying to fact check that.
I would have to double check that with them.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember for sure.
Right. Impressed that you remember any of these years. I usually forget how old I am. So the fact that you can remember graduation
That's one thing.
years for
I
your siblings.
remember things by grade.
Okay.
And that's how I remember, your brother, one was above me, one was, you're ahead.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, especially when you come from a big family like I did too. You
and
do have to
how do you know
categorize.
when people are like, oh, I knew your family, and I'm like, okay, but more specific.
Yeah.
Who did you know?
Right. Well, then you kind of remember the years because
my parents were really involved, and they both grew up here. My dad also graduated from Clarkston High School, and my mom went here for a couple years, and so people, know them, remember them. Apparently, I look a lot like either one of them. So,
when did your family first get to Clarkston then?
My mom grew up in Waterford. My dad grew up in Ortonville. They both went to high school in Clarkston. So they met while they were in high school and started dating when they were 16. And they stayed together the whole time.
Wow.
My dad graduated first, and then my mom graduated. My dad went to the Marines, and they lived in California for 2 years. They came back here to Clarkston, and they lived in a little duplex first, and then they had a house over on Transparent, and that's where all my 5 siblings were raised until my brother was about 2. Then they moved to the house on Main Street, which is where I lived, and where we grew up. We lived there. When we sold it, it had been 51 years.
Wow.
That we lived there.
And now when your parents graduated from the high school, was it in the Renaissance building then too, or where was the high school
Yes,
then?
my mom ultimately graduated from Waterford.
Okay.
But my dad graduated in 49. He was class of 49 from the high school, which was the Renaissance School.
Wow, that's so, and you have such a long
Yeah.
history here. That's pretty impressive. And that house you grew up in, you guys recently sold it, correct? So it was in the family 50.
Say recently, it's probably been 5 years now.
It
maybe?
felt like it was.
I know,
I remember
it
talking
seems
about
like
it.
yesterday.
Yeah. And that house was a historic home, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And, like, what year was that home built?
Oh gosh, I would have to look it up, but early 1900s.
Okay.
It was an old farmhouse, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was mostly, I mean, it was the farmhouse that sat on many acres before everything got divided up
Right.
way back in the day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think has kept you guys here? What's kept the Tower family here for generations? What do you think it is?
And is everybody still here?
Oh, good question.
No.
Okay.
Honestly, I have a sister who still lives in Clarkston. I actually now live in Ortonville, and I have a sister in Wisconsin, one in Arizona, and then we have Commerce in Davison.
Okay.
But nobody, I don't know. I moved away for a year and a half, and like I couldn't take it. I loved it. It was like grand adventure, and I had the best time. But I missed Clarkston the whole time.
Yeah.
I missed the 4th of July parade. I just missed the small town feeling of it. I missed getting together with family, because even though we're sort of spread out, we still, all the holidays and everything, we're back at mom and dad's house. So I just really missed that. I lived in Nashville, so it was very different feeling of community. So I really missed that.
And you married a Laboissonniere, who their family have pretty strong ties and long ties to the community as well, right?
Yep.
They were all born and raised here.
Eric's mom and all of her sisters grew up here, the Santilli family. So they all lived in Clarkston. And what was funny after Eric and I met is that I found out that my sisters and his aunts were like in Girl Scouts together when they were little. And then his little brother used to hang out with my nephew, and just all these things that we found out that we didn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other, and we didn't meet until we were both in our 30s. But our families had known each other and had been acquainted for a long time.
I love those little small town connections. It's just cool. That kind of stuff's cool. Well, you've lived here so long, your family's lived here so long. Are there any little known secrets about Clarkston that we should talk about? Or you could think about it.
Probably not anymore. What were secrets aren't secrets anymore.
Okay.
And things that I thought that were secrets as a kid were only secrets because you were a kid.
Right.
Like
That's
Depot
so
Park
funny.
was the place to hang out.
Yeah.
But that's like, now you just know that. You're like, well, duh. But as a kid, you thought that was a big secret.
Yeah.
I think I brought this up earlier too, but somebody would mention the other day about how the bake shop in downtown Clarkston used to be 24 hours.
Oh, gosh.
Do you
yes.
remember that?
I do remember that.
That was a fact check, because I'm like,
That
that
was
can't
a fact
possibly
check.
be
No.
a real thing.
You must have, you could have walked there, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And were there a lot of people needing cookies in the middle of the night? Like,
Ultimately. Well,
so funny.
here's, I think, what happened. I think that for a while it was open. I think maybe after some of the bars closed,
Got it.
that they would get coffee drinkers and people who
Yeah.
wanted to keep the night going.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it wasn't really enough business for
Okay.
them to keep
Yeah.
the 24/7. But it was for
Yeah.
a while. I don't know that I don't know that I ever went in the middle of the night, but we thought it was cool that you
yeah,
could go.
no, I think it's
Could, yeah.
super cool that was ever a thing.
Yeah, you could pass Hallman's, right, and
Yeah.
get cigarettes. I remember
Yep.
getting cigarettes
Yes.
there for my mom. She would
Of
send us
course.
down there.
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Uh-huh. And you get that little lady would work there. I forget her name, but
Carol.
she was that. Yes. Okay.
Carol.
Yes, Carol. Go see Carol. Here's my list.
Yes, and she would get whatever you need.
Yeah.
And then Marilyn worked in the back at the pharmacy for
Yeah.
Dr. Bob,
Oh, my
and she took care of if you had to get your prescriptions.
Yeah.
She took care of that in the back, and Carol took care of everything at the front.
Yeah. That's so
Yes.
funny. And
Hallman's is where you went to get everything.
Yeah.
Whatever you need. If I needed makeup, a magazine, a gift for somebody's birthday,
Prescription
a
drugs,
prescription.
cigarettes.
If you needed to get we called it purple, but it was Diamond Tap. But back then it was purple.
Yeah.
And if
Get
you
your
were a
purple.
patient of Dr. O'Neill's, you knew what this was, and it was a staple in our household. If you as an adult, I was like, what do you do when you have when you're kind of congested? And everybody's, I don't know.
Where's the
Take
purple?
Yeah.
You're supposed to.
Dr. O'Neill said.
Exactly, that's what you do.
That's what you do.
Oh, that's funny because we were just talking before we started filming about our love of Essence on Main.
Oh gosh.
And
I love that place, and Emma is amazing.
yes, and you were
yeah.
kind of reflecting back on its Hallman
Oh yeah.
days. Yeah.
Right. It's sort of, it is that now. Like it's
Yes,
the same,
it's
all those
the
things
same
you were
concept
mentioning.
again, just not your
Yeah.
prescriptions.
Yeah.
You can, and I love, if I need a gift for something, that's where I go to get it, because
Yeah.
you're going to find whatever you need for whoever you need it for.
It's like once you go in, then you have to keep going back.
You do.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You do.
Yep.
Were you sad when Rudy's took a pause?
I am, but I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to bring out.
Yeah.
I think, way back in the day when I was in high school, I used to work at Carol's Village Grill, and Robert would come over and order pancakes in the morning for breakfast, and he was always on the move, super fast,
Yeah.
because he just was always, there was stuff going on, and he was going.
Yeah.
But he would come and he would have pancakes and get his to-go order, and I love that even after actual Rudy passed away, who I do remember,
Yeah.
after he passed away, I loved that you could still go to Rudy's and, the market and everything and the meat counter, and they stepped it up a little with the pepperoni sticks and all the yummy stuff that they had.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm sad that it's not open and it's not there now, but I'm super excited to see what they kind of have to keep it going and stay fresh.
Yeah, we are too. It's right now, isn't the Candle Bar taking over part of that?
Like the Clarkston News.
Yeah.
I just noticed when I drove past this morning that there's new art on the window.
That's very cool.
So I'm very excited.
It is
That
very
is
exciting. Well, so tell us about how you ended up working for the township and your journey and your careers, with
goodness.
them.
All right, so it's been a while, but 29 years ago, right about now-ish, my sister worked in the concession stands. She ran the concession stands. Then we had them at Clintonwood and at Baycourt. And most of her staff was getting ready to go back to school.
I was part of her staff.
I was going to
You
say,
were?
this
Yeah.
is
Where
when
at?
I met Katie.
Clintonwood and Baycourt. I would rotate.
Where were the concessions at Baycourt? I can't picture
Where the
it.
kitchen is, we just ran it out of the kitchen.
In that little room.
We would also sell the wristbands to go down to the
Yep.
beach.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So everybody was getting ready to go to school, but I went to Baker and I was home on a break between summer and fall, and my schedule was different. She needed help, and I was like, oh, okay. So I helped her out for a few weeks, and then a month later, she called me and she said, hey, the township is doing a haunted forest. Do you want to come help out?
Oh my gosh, real
What?
quick.
Oh my
I loved the haunted forest.
Yes, it was
I would
amazing.
love the haunted forest to come back. Okay.
So would several staff people.
Okay.
When did it go
It's something we
away?
talk about.
Well, now it's the friendly forest.
Yeah, we turned
Oh,
it into, it's
yes.
been Friendly Forest for
Gotcha.
years now.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
But it started out haunted, and so that first year I would either dress as a witch and guide people through the haunted forest, or I would dress in whatever character and scream and out in the forest. It was amazing. They paid me to do it.
That's
So that was my grand start with Independence Township. And I just never really left.
Good.
I worked part-time doing that
Screaming.
for 11 years.
screaming at people.
At some point, I quit screaming and we switched over to friendly.
Right.
So we got friendlier, but I did, gosh, I just moved, I worked concessions some more. I did special events, back then we called it Festival of Fun on the 4th of July, so we did that. Christmas events, all sorts of stuff. And then we started when Baycourt. We did a lot of improvements at Baycourt, and when the gazebo was built and everything, they started doing weddings. Then I coordinated weddings on the weekends for people. I was like the liaison so that the park people could still do what they needed, but there was somebody there to make sure everything went well. And I just never really left. I stayed on as what we call special events seasonal help. And I just kept doing that every year. I was like, I would have a regular job. I had a full-time job. And I was like, yeah, but I have student loans to pay off. So I'll keep, it's fun.
Yeah.
It was just an amazing, fun time, something to do. 4 or 5 hours at a time here and there. So I kept doing it. And then eventually a position opened up in the office, and I started in the office, and here I am.
How long have you been full-time?
18 years.
Oh, wow.
It was 18 years.
We had
ago.
talked to Gary Call a few episodes ago, and we were discussing just like the value of your employees being there long term and being like very invested in the community and their jobs. And I think you're just such like a great example of it not being a job.
It's
so much
definitely more than a job for me. Mostly because anytime I've ever thought about leaving, I'm like, but no, because I really do. I enjoy what I'm doing. The people that I work with, I mean, at this point, a lot of the people that I work with are more like family to me than anything else. We've worked together for a very long time. And I really enjoy specifically this position because I am able to keep my hands in everything that's going on, and it's important to me to let people know what we have going on. But to be able to kind of then also be the one to bring everything back, and I'm the one that goes back to the staff and is like, hey, there's this going on.
Right.
The same day that we have our thing going on, we need to pay attention to this, or just to share what's going on.
I think too, it makes me think, we're in this time where I feel like most people don't stay at their jobs for long term. It's all about chasing the next possible promotion or whatever. And I do think Clarkston, the township, is so lucky to have you. And just your passion for this community, your connections, your just everything.
Well, we were talking to Gary too. We talked about this continuity idea, and that's what so much more. But you're also bringing that continuity. Like here's these years of experience, and you have this connections and relationships, and this investment.
It's hard in a job or just in the community when everything is new and there's no one around who remembers how it used to be. It doesn't mean you have to do everything the exact same way and that there's not room for change, but there's also, I think, always room to remember where we came from and, not just always do things the brand new way.
Right.
There's definitely a balance there. I'm very old school on so much stuff, but I'm also if there's new ideas, I'm like, hey, let's I remember when everybody was like, oh, there's nothing to do here. That's what I remember about being a kid is everybody, there's nothing to do here. But then even as there were things to do here, that never changed. People just still said, there's nothing to do here. So I think it's just a little bit of perspective and being willing to being open to ideas. I don't like change at all, so growing up is hard.
Right.
But that's kind of what you have to do and, move along and just.
Yeah, no, I think it's respecting the history and where you come from, but also recognizing like things will change. It goes from screaming at people to being friendly in the forest. You got to do it sometimes.
Exactly.
It happens. What are some of your favorite events that the township puts out every year? Do you have favorites, or is it like picking a favorite kid, or what?
Friendly Forest. For me, any chance to be able to put on a costume is a bonus, so that's probably a little bit of the draw for me from the get-go. So Friendly Forest is just an amazing event. I like it because it gets the community involved. We bring in kids from the school that volunteer in costume for us, and it's just great. It's so many families, there's so many families where everybody will dress up. The whole family will dress as clowns.
Did the Hess family do that?
Oh my gosh.
Family has
so
done
quick
that.
story.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Picture this. Jackson's first year at Clarkston Elementary. Clarkston L has their Boo Bash,
Yep.
right? I was very excited. So I
Yes.
got the whole family clown costumes.
Yeah.
We went to the Boo Bash. None of the other parents dressed up.
I thought that was coming.
Yeah, so I feel like,
Oh, man.
yeah.
That's
I
so
also
great.
enjoy a good costume, Amy. I
It
understand.
was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
You found your place. Was at the Friendly Forest.
Yes.
It was waiting for you.
I also really love Independence Fest. Typically until recently, it was always on the 4th of July,
Yep.
which is just Clarkston is an amazing place to be for the 4th of July. The spirit of the community, 4th of July parade is hands down like amazing.
Yeah.
So just to be in town and around and everything that's going on is really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And
It's a big
fireworks,
draw.
come on.
I know even this year it was like slightly sprinkling, I think.
Oh yeah, I've
It was still
been at
amazing.
fireworks for a long time, and I've never worried quite so much as we did this year. But they still went off.
Yeah.
It was a little sprinkly, but they still went off.
It was a great show.
It was a
too.
great show.
I thought it was a
It was
really
fantastic.
good show.
And the years that you've been around with the parade, how many have had to be canceled because of weather, if any?
I don't remember any.
I don't either, and I thought, is that just my bad memory? But that's insane, isn't it?
I don't
How is that
ever
possible?
remember there not being one because of weather.
Is there still the Holiday Lights Parade? Does that still happen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I have not heard this from the group that normally organizes it yet.
Okay.
But I think this year's December 9th.
Okay.
That's
okay.
the night. I know there's stuff going on in Depot Park that night.
Yeah.
And it's usually the same night, so mark your calendar.
I do always really like that. And Depot,
is
like
it's so
in
cool.
the snow,
Yep.
is kind of magical.
To be
is,
able
yeah.
to be outside and all the lights and at night. you
And
know,
Santa.
That's awesome.
People
And
bundled
reindeer.
up.
Yeah.
Speaking of other events in the colder weather, tell us about ghosts in Clarkston. Where are they? Are they at your old home first, or were there any ghosts?
I can't honestly say that I ever noticed anything,
Interesting.
for sure.
Okay.
Now, granted, having lived there, I mean, I was 45 when we sold the house.
Okay.
So there were things that I noticed, but not that I could nail down specifically and say for sure.
Okay. That's fair.
I think my siblings and maybe some of my nieces and nephews would say that they've experienced things,
All right.
but I think they also probably couldn't like show you any proof of it.
So you're
Okay.
saying we have to call ghost hunters?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
This topic has come up a few times, so we were kind of like just getting our feelers out for
Yeah.
where the
Oh,
ghosts
sure.
might be hanging out. If we
Yeah.
wanted to go find,
I think probably most of the family would say more so in like the property, because we would just hang out in the yard.
Yeah.
As kids, you were at mom and dad's, grandma and grandpa's, whatever, and we would just hang out, late night, early morning, whatever. We
Yeah.
hung outside. We were kids.
Of
Go
course,
outside.
go be
You know,
outside.
go be
yes,
outside.
yes.
And so we had like what we called the woods, by our house, and that's where we would play. And I'm sure there were ghosts out there.
Yeah.
Positive of it.
How about some of the other buildings in town? Have you heard any rumors? This is for data. We're just collecting data.
Yeah.
That's all. We won't keep you to it.
Yeah.
Hold you to it.
We might want to plan an event.
Yeah.
I myself just always wondered about the Catello house that used to be the church.
Oh, that does
Yeah.
seem like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to, way back in the day was the Methodist church before
On
Yeah.
Buffalo?
the current one.
Right, yeah.
on Buffalo.
Or, yeah, okay.
I've always
a good
just
one to
looked at
borrow.
that one and
Awesome.
been like, yeah, there's gotta be.
Yes, that does seem right. Okay. We talked about the Masonic building
Yes.
also,
Yeah.
having potential for us to investigate.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some options.
Yeah, if you think of anything, let us know
Yeah.
because
Okay.
we're on a little mission here.
If you guys bring some Ghostbusters into town, I would want them to check out Brady Lodge.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
At
didn't think
Bayport
of
Park.
that. Okay.
Like, it's a real cool building,
Yeah.
a very cool vibe, but when
Yeah.
you go down in that basement,
It has a basement?
It's like, you're like, oh, come on now.
Okay.
Really?
Basements.
Oh,
There's something
yeah.
I hadn't thought
Oh my
about.
gosh. think of
Very,
that.
very cool building.
Okay.
I mean, overall. So
Yeah, for
just
sure.
you can, take a look and walk around and whatever. But the basement, and there's an upstairs too. And the upstairs, honestly, not so creepy.
Okay.
The basement, super creepy and probably haunted. We just,
Ah.
again,
Okay.
can't prove anything, but
All
I
right.
would not be surprised.
Talk a little bit about Brady Lodge and what's going on there.
So Brady Lodge is getting a bit of a facelift. Actually, Brady Lodge, being a very old building, gets a bit of a facelift every few years because there were kind of phases of renovation to go through. We're very excited. We just installed an HVAC system there, and we have a new roof. And what we discovered in the past couple of years that we have beautiful new windows, but there were no shades, and it did create for a very warm room.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Very warm room in the afternoon. So now we have some shades that are helping that, and we're putting up some different lighting up above. So just a couple
weddings,
things.
people are
Weddings,
hosting weddings there.
any kind of special event really that people would like.
Yeah.
It is an option now. That is the only building we have where you can get a day license to have alcohol.
Okay.
So you can have a special event liquor license for an event that you're having. So anniversary or
cool, yeah.
wedding, some kind of special event in your
Yeah.
family.
Nice.
It really is just a cool building, very historic.
Yep.
I'm so happy. For years it was storage.
That's crazy,
yeah.
isn't
And
it?
it's where we pulled in the tractors, and we kept wagons
Yeah.
and props and stuff. And
Yeah.
so to see it now as a viable building where we're actually holding events and bringing
Yeah.
people in is really amazing.
Nice.
That is very cool. And to have that idea or the uniqueness of the liquor license, the temporary liquor license.
Yeah,
That's kind of a big deal.
And that was it. It took a little while for that to come. It definitely had to be. It's a board approval process and everything, but I think when we just reached the point, and we have a very supportive board, so that was really cool that we were able to put that through and have the trust and how we would handle that. And
Yeah.
there's definitely stuff there's a few hoops that have to
Sure.
go through to get it, but we're very excited because it just opens up a whole new opportunities. And
Yeah.
it's a really cool building.
Yeah.
Especially anybody who's getting married, the gazebo is there, and then
Yeah.
there's multiple options now for either indoor receptions, outdoor receptions. So
Very cool.
Baycourt Park, that's for everybody.
Well, Baycourt's getting a facelift as well, the playground too. So that place is all kind of getting transformed.
So this is big, huge for us. Starting sometime next week, the current playground that has also been there for 29 years. We start demolition sometime next week. It does have to go. It is a safety concern at this point, and we got a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we know that people would really like to keep it, and we would too, but for safety issues, it's time to replace it.
Yeah.
So this has been a process. We've spent 4 years fundraising and planning and trying to make sure that we were getting the best bang for our buck. We definitely wanted to put some things such as poured-in-place surfacing in to make certain things more accessible for more people. And poured-in-place surfacing is very expensive.
Okay.
So we spent a summer before we made any decisions going and visiting different playgrounds. It was awful. It was like the
Sounds
worst
terrible.
summer of my
I know,
life.
it sounds
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
The R&D on
But-
that's real rough. Yeah.
Really to see how other people put this surfacing versus mulch versus
Yep.
like artificial turf,
Yeah.
all different things. So we went to a ton of playgrounds in the area and just looked at how they did it and asked questions. And so it's been a very cool process for me, just in terms of learning and visiting other parks. But also to be able to be a part of bringing this new playground in is very exciting. I'm just like giddy about it.
Yeah. It was 29 years ago they built Baycourt. That current.
29 years ago.
That's amazing. to
Next
me.
year, it would have
Wow.
been 30 years old.
That's crazy. It's really cool. The next generation gets their own,
Yes.
their playground.
We're
and-
excited because we brought in people who were on the original committee,
Yep.
who sat on the committee with us again. Her kids helped build it the first time, and now
Yeah.
her grandkids are going to be part of, helping us welcome in the new phase of it. So it's really exciting.
That is
That's
cool.
coming.
Yeah.
It'll start probably maybe by the time we air.
Yeah.
It will
Okay.
be partially built.
Wow.
And we're, so it'll be done. It's going to be a little chilly by the time it's finished, so a grand opening will probably still be in the spring, but it will be installed and ready for people to check it out. End of
Awesome.
October, maybe.
That is fantastic. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
We were talking about different areas that we like to, like we were reminiscing about Hallman's and Rudy's and all this stuff, but it makes me think about all the different businesses that we currently have. And are there any favorite spots that you have to go to eat, or hidden gems that you want to talk about, or any of Amy's top, top
Yes.
3
Top picks.
hot picks, whatever you're gonna call them?
All right. Well, and I've already said this, but I am a huge fan of the Essence.
Okay, yeah.
So I think their food is awesome. To run in and grab a sandwich. I've gotten catering from there before, and the food is really good. It's healthy. It's fresh, and Emma is like a dream to work with.
Yeah.
I will recommend Emma and the Essence to anybody who asks me.
So specifically, I know I had stopped in and I got the turkey hearts cherry.
Yes.
And Amy's like, that's good. You also need to try the Wexler.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So if anybody's
Yes.
going in, those are probably our top 2 recommendations.
For sure.
Their caprese
You're gonna
sandwich.
need to get both. Oh, man,
Very
yes.
good. It's
Okay,
very
so
good.
next on the list should be quiche.
There.
Oh.
They make
I mean, this is a small
phenomenal
menu, I feel like, and I
quiche.
feel
Yeah,
like we
I know.
They don't.
Jeez.
But they are small and lovely and
Okay.
just so good. The
All right.
quiches, yeah.
Are they breakfast quiches or just? Oh, okay.
And you can sometimes they'll have like a slice there or whatever but you can order like a whole quiche and a couple different
Oh,
kinds.
okay.
Amazing.
pretty
Okay,
great
all right.
recommendation.
And there's a lot of places to recreate. Is there a favorite that you
Wow.
have?
Obviously, any one of our parks, either Clinton Woods, Ashtabula Plains, Bay Court Park. But if you haven't, top of my list would always be Deer Lake Beach. I myself took swimming lessons, baby through about to be a lifeguard through Parks and Rec when I was a young thing,
Yep.
many moons ago. But I'm pleased we still have an awesome reputation for our swim lessons. They are outdoor in the lake swim
Yeah.
lessons,
Is that
which
pretty
we
unique?
think is a good thing.
Is it unique?
It is.
Yeah,
It
okay.
is. It doesn't happen a lot of
Yeah.
places anymore. A lot of places have pool,
Sure.
but we kind of like that. We like
Yeah.
the outdoor and lake option, just lake living all the way, especially in this area. We want
Yeah.
kids to learn about the fishies and know how to how to handle themselves in the sand and the water and all
Yeah.
that stuff. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful beach. It's about to get, before next season, we'll have some renovations down there too.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to call them renovations, but there's things that we can do to stop erosion
Okay.
that is happening. So there's some stuff like that that's going to happen for next summer.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
That's a
too.
hot tip right there.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, thanks. We'll keep looking for that one too. And I feel like we talk a lot about the history of our town and, what it used to be like, but what do you think is the common thread that, like, what's not changed, since you've been here? What has been pretty
I think
consistent?
I think maybe it's a little cliche, but like the heart of the community. I've always really felt that there are just people here who are willing to help other people, and just reach out when somebody needs help. I love, for example, that sitting here, I've known you forever,
Right.
because you were friends of my sister's friends and your brothers went to school, I
Right.
just, there's so many ways that I can explain that I know who you are.
Right.
And then same thing with you. I mean, we worked together, but then I knew Larry. I've known Larry my entire life.
Yeah.
And I just so many people I have that same connection with. And if I'm like that, then you know, every person. And I think that is a big draw of the community, that people knowing each other and wanting to help. And you know, when so-and-so says, hey, you know, there's something going on, we need help, there's a fundraiser, then everybody, you know, pitches in and comes, you know, does that.
And I feel like when you say like you moved to Nashville, it's got to feel a little bit like little fish in the big pond,
wow,
you know,
very
like
different.
when you're used to being so connected to everybody, and then to try to go outside, and you're like, I'm connected to nobody.
yes.
Yeah.
Very different. I mean, just in terms of city versus us.
Yeah.
And, you know, country versus us. And, but it's a very different vibe.
Yeah.
And for me, as someone who grew up here, local and small town, I loved it, but it definitely was just a very different vibe. And I went and I stayed for a year and a half. I had a great time, loved every minute of it. But at some point I was like, I'm going back home.
That's kind of the thing Ann's always asking too. You
Yeah,
know?
what brings you back? That's the thing, because a lot of people leave, a lot of people come back, and there's something maybe you have to leave to kind of get perspective and understand and
An
appreciate.
experience, you know, go on this grand adventure, and
for
then
sure.
go back where they know you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, a little bit like a little cheers, you
Yeah.
know. Everyone knows your name situation, or at least everyone knows your name or someone in your family, and you're connected in some way, right?
That happens a lot because, I mean, I've literally had people look me in the face and say, you must be a Tower. And I have no clue who they are. Right. And I'm like, yes. And I'm wondering, who did you know? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? You know? But and people recognize, now that I'm married, people recognize my last name from my husband's siblings, and, you know, will be like, well, who did you know? Which one did you know?
Right.
And I love that. I love all the little connections that come up all the time.
Yes.
And it really does, no matter what I'm doing, where I'm going, people, you know, there's somebody that they know somebody that I know,
Absolutely.
and a conversation will ensue.
Yes, it's very much connecting Clarkston.
Yep.
I was going to say.
It is.
Isn't it? How appropriate.
Wow. How do we not wrap it up on that? It's just so
I
perfect.
know, it's perfect.
But I really want to ask you, do you play Wordle?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Not at all.
All right, moment ruined. Ann.
That's very random. But also I like it.
I saw this thing where Martha Stewart, I think, like, asks all of her guests what their Wordle word.
Oh, got it. Nope, sorry.
Okay, well, that didn't
so
work.
funny. That's so funny. How about this question?
Okay.
If you were to recommend anybody to come on our podcast next, speaking of connecting Clarkston, who do you think would be a good fit to continue the conversation?
I did a little preparation for this.
Okay.
So I did think about this because I had watched some of the other podcasts, and some of the people that I wanted to request have already been requested. So I'm gonna.
Brandon.
I was gonna say Brandon.
Yeah.
It's already on your show, so I can't recommend him. And I think you've already reached out to Emma, so I'm not gonna, even though I just did, say that out loud.
Yes.
I honestly think that you should reach out to Joel DeLong of the Rotary Club.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's a new one.
He and his wife Mindy have spearheaded the Shoes for Kids drive that comes up in the fall through the Rotary, which also involves the newspapers. They sell the newspapers, and then that's how they earn the money. So I just, Joel
DeLong
was a neighbor of mine when I was a kid and has always been really involved in the community. So I think he'd be a good suggestion.
Awesome.
Fantastic. That's a new one too. So I like that. Thank you. We appreciate that. And the other two, we still appreciate shout outs because they're great community members anyway. So, you know, not for naught.
Yeah.
So thank you. Well, we appreciate you coming on to talk to us, Amy.
course.
It's so good to see you again. And we will see you the next couple events too that we're going to be at. So we will continue to run into you.
Yes.
This podcast is brought to you by Independence Television, located inside Clarkston High School. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Independence Television, Independence Township, or Clarkston Community Schools.